6 products, over a dozen vendors around the globe, dealing with manufacturing constraints, shifting timelines, and balancing supply and demand. Creating products isn't easy, but if you can work through the challenges, the experience is so rewarding. Hello, I'm Matthew Encina. In this video, I'll share the process of designing and launching my X-ray collection. Before I begin, I want to thank Shopify for sponsoring this video. Based on your feedback, I'll focus on a few key areas: coming up with a concept, collaborating with others, the business and money side of things, manufacturing challenges, and the product launch. To start any project, you need to have a strong concept, a structured idea that's clearly defined and easily remembered. The most intriguing concepts connect the dots between disparate things in novel ways. This is our role as creative people. Waiting for my flight at the airport, I'm researching new earbuds to purchase because my old ones stopped working. Then these pop up. Lately, there's been a resurgence of transparent tech in electronics, and I like it. Because I'm in the middle of working on several other keyboard-related projects, my mind starts to wonder and connect the dots here. What would keyboard keycaps look like in this same aesthetic? In the time it takes me to fly to and from home, I create a few renders in 3D and put together a simple project page with a concept, which I call X-ray Keycaps. I send this to my contact at PBTfans, a company based in Shanghai, China, that specializes in custom mechanical keyboards. To my surprise, they're very interested in the project. They offer to make a sample of the set because we're both interested in what this might look like in real life. In a few weeks, the samples arrive. They look gorgeous, better than I imagined. There's something so alluring about how light and shadow play through the translucent top of the keycaps. But there's a problem. I notice on a few keycaps there are these holes. I ask PBTfans about them, and they tell me that it's a part of the injection molding process. These keycaps are double shot, meaning they're made of 2 layers of plastic. In order to fill the closed shapes, like the letter D, they need an additional channel for the second layer of plastic to flow into. I contact a few other manufacturers and friends in the space to share what I'm trying to accomplish, but they all tell me the same thing. The holes are unavoidable. As much as I've fallen in love with the look of these, I can't get over how visually distracting the holes are, and it's enough for me to kill the project. One thing to learn about manufacturing is there are constraints in the tooling, materials, and processes. Just because you have an idea doesn't mean it can be produced exactly as you envisioned it. It's important to get feedback and samples from manufacturers so you can decide if these constraints are something you can work with or not. There's a great video by Shopify about finding reliable manufacturers and suppliers, which I'll link to in the description. A few months pass and I've largely forgotten about the project. But then I get a message on Discord with a few photos. PBTfans came up with a potential solution to help close up the holes visually. I ask for samples so that I can see them with my own eyes. They propose adding an additional manufacturing process, painting the back of the keycaps with Tamiya acrylic paint, which is commonly used in plastic hobby models. This unexpected and novel approach resolves the issues I had with the original batch. It's rare to find partners who are passionate problem solvers who don't give up on a good concept. With that, the X-ray project is brought back to life. Now, I want to test the viability of this as a product. I take photos of the samples mounted on a keyboard and post it on Instagram. Then create a landing page on my website with details and an interest check form to get feedback. The response is overwhelming. There's excitement in the community comments. We get hundreds of responses to the interest check form, and thousands of people sign up for notifications. Various keyboard vendors reach out because they'd like to order some for their store. This gives us the confidence to move forward with the production of X-ray keycaps, which will take a few months to manufacture. If you have a good concept, there are so many ways to test its viability. You can post publicly to gauge the response, You can collect feedback in community forums. To get commitment, you can run a pre-sale of your product or run a type of Kickstarter campaign. Though, if you have confidence and the resources, you can move straight into production. There's another great video by Shopify on how to research and validate product ideas, which I'll link to in the description. The interesting thing is when you have a good concept and put it out there, the universe responds. A beautiful aspect of the custom mechanical keyboard niche is the strength of its community. It's filled with other designers and makers who love collaborating on projects. Since I announced X-Ray, it stirs up conversations on Discord where much of the community hangs out. The first collaboration is with my friend Tim Van Dam, also known as Max Voltar. He's a seasoned design veteran in the tech and digital world, but is also heavily involved in the keyboard community. He releases many of his own projects and collaborates with others in the space. Tim reaches out to me because he loves the concept behind X-Ray and offers to design a special Artisan keycap for it. His first design is appropriate to the concept of transparent tech, but in my eyes, the green PCB color doesn't quite fit. After a few iterations, we settle on a design that mirrors the brand key art I developed for the set. The challenge is now to see if this bespoke design can be manufactured. Tim enlists Salvan, a CNC machinist and keyboard vendor based in Belgium. They're local to each other and collaborate on many challenging and unique keyboard projects. After some trial and error, they develop a process to create this two-piece design of machined aluminum and polycarbonate held in place by an M16 screw, a crown jewel that perfectly complements the X-Ray keycap set. Another accessory that would be fun to explore in this aesthetic is a USB cable, another thing keyboard enthusiasts like to invest in. I reach out to my friend Randall, who runs Wired In, a store that specializes in custom cables. I share my idea to see if it's something he's interested in collaborating on. He sends me a photo of a recent commission he designed for a client, and the potential becomes clear in my mind. We hop on a call to discuss parameters and kick around ideas. We both want to design a cable that can be produced in a large run while retaining a custom look that stands out from an ordinary USB cable. For us, that means customizing everything: the wire shielding, outer sleeving, and the USB housings. Time is our biggest challenge here if we want these to release close to the keycaps, so we immediately get to work. Randall begins conversations with manufacturers and suppliers to get a sense of feasibility, costs, and timeline. And I start to design mock-ups of the product and packaging for it so we have a better idea of what we're making. From our conversation, we decide that we want to create a translucent silicone cable with white shielded internal wires. For the USB connectors, we want to use a custom design, low profile, die cast housing that Randall has been working on. This has a flat surface where we can engrave our logos. We're making this out of copper alloy instead of aluminum, so it adds some weight to the cable. We're exploring a knurled pattern as a design element, and we'll bead blast it and finish it in a silver matte PVD. For the packaging, I want to keep it simple while following the core design motifs. Based on a few references I found, I explore concepts that utilize a box with a translucent sleeve around it. It takes us about 2 months to get the first prototypes, refine the design, and share our feedback with the manufacturers. Randall finalizes the design for production, while I work on reaching out to various keyboard vendors to see if they'd like to pre-order and sell the X-Ray cable in their stores. There are many moving parts to a project like this. I'll break it down so you can understand how this arrangement works. First, there's a designer or brand. They come up with the concept for the product. They work with manufacturers and suppliers to source materials and make the products. Often, the brand has a store of its own, but it can also work with third-party retailers to improve its distribution to different regions or channels. Here's how the money breaks down. Manufacturers make money when the brand places a purchase order for goods. The brand makes money selling the product to retailers or directly to customers. And retailers make money because they buy products wholesale from the brand, purchasing at bulk at a cheaper cost, and earn when they sell to customers. At every level, Each party has a markup on the price to cover their costs and earn profit to keep their business sustainable. How much each party makes depends on how much risk and investment they've contributed to the process and their ability to sell to customers. As a collaborative designer, I earn 10 to 30% royalty from the brand on every product sale. My costs and responsibilities include the time I invest in designing the product and my marketing efforts, while my partners are responsible for financing, manufacturing, and fulfillment. I own the intellectual properties of X-Ray, while my partners have manufacturing rights to the products. If you have your own idea for a product or brand you're looking to launch, Shopify, the sponsor of this video, is a commerce platform that allows you to start, grow, and manage a business. Millions of people use it to sell online, in person, and across borders. The majority of collaborators I work with run their stores using Shopify, including PBTfans, Wired In, Omnitype, and more.
My favorite feature of Shopify has to be the 2.0 themes. It allows us to make quick changes to our website, whether it be full website overhauls, updates for a sale that same day, or even corrections on the go. So being able to keep your website up to date without needing to deal with code is such a huge advantage.
The cart framework and organizational system offered by Shopify are top-notch as well. They make managing my products, orders, and customer interactions seamless, which is vital for maintaining a well-run business. Shopify's responsiveness, exceptional support, extensive customization options, and robust organizational tools make it the perfect platform for building and growing a professional website.
It's a great time to be a creative entrepreneur. If you have an idea for a product you want to launch, check out shopify.com/Matthew Encina to get started today. We're weeks away from the launch of X-Ray Keycaps, and a few more collaborations come up in discussion. I don't have the capacity to take them all on, so I have to be selective. My criteria: does it add something unique to the project, and does it require extensive development or time to produce? I want to make sure that any other collaboration I take on adds value and can deliver within 1 to 2 months of the keycaps to take advantage of the marketing momentum behind the project. While I have to turn down some, the collaborations I did choose to take on are simpler to execute because they're based on existing products. PBTfans asks if I'd like to create an X-ray edition of their roller linear keyboard switch. After testing materials and spring weights, we come up with this: a linear switch with a nylon PA66 bottom, translucent polycarbonate top, long pole palm stem, and a 60-gram 20mm spring for a snappy return. It features a unique ball bearing system for smooth operation. The first photos I took of the X-Ray keycap set were on the Bauer Lite keyboard by Omnitype. The founder, Garrett, suggests making an X-Ray edition of the keyboard, which is a win-keyless 65% keyboard with an opaque white bottom and a translucent top featuring custom pad-printed graphics. A keyboard that pairs perfectly with the aesthetic of the keycaps. The last collaboration involves my friend at Wired In. As we finalize the cable, Randall is also completing the sale of his flagship keyboard, the Protagonist, a premium 60% CNC machine keyboard with interchangeable layouts. Since we're working on the cable together, we decide to create an X-ray edition of this keyboard, a full polycarbonate top and bottom, an E-white coated aluminum plate, and a custom engraved heavy steel weight with an E-white coating. These 3 collaborations complete the X-Ray collection for anyone looking for a unique keyboard setup on their desk. All that's left is to finish manufacturing and market the release of these products. This entire project would not be possible without the help of all my collaborators. These collaborations don't happen out of the blue, but rather are relationships I've developed over the years. Being in the community, engaging with content, and being curious about what others are working on. A collaboration can happen when each party has something of value to exchange with each other. That could be expertise, resources, and even audiences. The more assets you have to leverage, the stronger your negotiating power is in your deal. The party that takes the most risk or investment should receive more of the reward. If you want to collaborate well, Here are a few tips. Be clear about what each party wants out of the exchange. Get it in writing with a simple agreement contract of terms, IP ownership, roles and responsibilities, royalty, and payment terms. When you're in the design and decision-making process, make sure to communicate your intent with context. And always give space for the other person to respond. Ask for their opinion and compromise when needed. Often, disagreements can happen if the communication isn't clear and if one party doesn't feel heard in the process. It's the end of July and we're ready to launch the X-Ray collection. I do a quick refresh of my project page to introduce the new products. I push out notifications on Instagram on the release date and wait anxiously as the time counts down. It's at this moment when you're the most excited to get your product out there, but also nervous because anything can go wrong. There are so many moving parts to this release, 6 different products with over a dozen vendors around the globe. You have a good feeling, but still, you wonder, will this even sell? 6 p.m. rolls around, and in sync with our counterparts across the world, each vendor begins to make the X-Ray collection available in their stores. I sit around in different Discord communities, and I see people excited, sharing their purchases. I pop into a group chat I have going on with all the vendors to see how things are going. And I read this. Some vendors have already sold out, some in a minute. This is not a situation I planned for. I spent the last few months coordinating and building momentum for the launch. I haven't even released all of the marketing content I had planned. We made such a large quantity that I expected the stock to last for weeks, not sell out on the first day. It would be a shame if we couldn't make more out of this situation. So, what do we do? In the same evening, OmniType, one of my US vendors, comes up with a suggestion. What if we change sold out items into pre-orders and produce a restock to fulfill at a later date? After checking the feasibility with our manufacturers and locking down delivery dates, we move forward with the quick pivot to capture the momentum of incoming customers. Garrett scrambles to update all of his listings on Shopify and develops a nice way to notify customers that the first batch has sold out and a pre-order is now available. Because we're all connected on Discord, we're able to navigate this situation swiftly, despite it being a roller coaster of a launch. In the coming days, the rest of the vendors follow suit, and we ride the wave for the rest of the launch. This project started as a concept that almost died on the vine. We faced challenges in production, timelines, and launch, but through the ingenuity and determination of my collaborators, it blossomed into a suite of products that I'm truly proud of, and is an experience I've learned so much from. At the time of releasing this video, you're still able to order items from the X-Ray collection. All of the information, including product details and where to buy, can be found on my site, modmusings.com, linked in the description. If you have any questions, ask, and I'll do my best to answer them. With that out of the way, it's time to get back to work.